Dear viewers, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I welcome you back to our program, The Roots. And I want to thank God so much for all of you, for the gift of life that He has given us. Today we are looking at Root 9, and it is called wisdom. Wisdom. Going back a little bit to our previous teaching, we were looking at knowledge and we spent some time on it, though we never completed it. Like I've always said, these roots are a bit wide. We cannot say we can finish them all, but the good thing is that they like come in overlapping. When we finish one root, we repeat it in another root. So slowly by slowly we shall get into the details of individual roots. Today we are looking at wisdom. And as I've said in the previous teaching, we looked at knowledge, and I remember mentioning that there is no way we separate the three roots: wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And in our last teaching, we looked at the sources of knowledge. I remember mentioning many of them. There was one of the viewers who inboxed me that when you mentioned the knowledge, you never talked about individual help. That was a young boy who was so concerned and was asking me, now at home when we are given homework, I help my brother to do homework. Isn't that another way of passing on knowledge? I said, yes, it is. I didn't mention that to that length, but it is also another source of knowledge. Child to child, student to student, teacher to student, student to teacher, father to mother, mother to father, mother to children, children to mother. You can realize that in this generation of modern technology, most of us parents may not be so fully equipped with information concerning the gadgets that are used in the modern technology. Like if I take my example, many times I've consulted my children to help me out about the computer, about the phone, about any kind of equipment I use as far as technology is concerned. That is another way of getting knowledge, getting information, or passing on knowledge. So as we look at wisdom, first of all, the definition of wisdom, or the meaning of wisdom. When we talk about wisdom, most of these words are so commonly used. We deal with them, we mention them, we use them in our language day to day in our lives. We may not know the exact meaning of the words, but the good thing, we know how we use them. So wisdom, according to the definition I got, is the quality of having experience, knowledge, and good judgment, all the quality of being wise. I repeat, wisdom is the quality of having experience, knowledge, and good judgment, all the quality of being wise. In other words, the word wisdom comes from a short word, wise. Wise is another word which has its definition. And that definition goes line in line with wisdom. So coming to wise. Wise is having the power of discerning and judging properly as to what is true or right. If I and you have the power of discerning and judging properly as to what is true or right, we are wise. If we have power of reasoning correctly or incorrectly, or telling the difference between what is correct and what is incorrect, that is being wise. So according to that definition of wisdom, we've seen that the quality of being wise is what wisdom is. Another definition for wisdom is the soundness of an action or decision. The soundness of an action or decision with regard to the application of experience, knowledge, and good judgment. This second definition of wisdom is not far different from the first definition, putting in mind the key words that I spotted. Both definitions have the key words experience, knowledge, and good judgment. So, if you were to apply a wisdom in any way, in other words, if you were to act wisely in day-to-day life, there should be some kind of experience, knowledge, and good judgment in your actions. When you speak, when you act, when you think. Those three you can't do without them. Experience, knowledge, and good judgment. Now, looking at wisdom, we find that wisdom has qualities. The qualities of wisdom are many, but I have some few here which we can look at. Qualities of wisdom. Quality is the goodness of something, or the good part of something. I have qualities. You have qualities. As a human being, we can start listing qualities of a woman, qualities of a wife, qualities of a teacher, qualities of a priest, qualities of a father, qualities of a mother. The good things of a person in that title. All the things that make up that person are qualities. So as we talk about wisdom, wisdom has qualities. Like I said, it's a long list of qualities, but I picked out some few. We have understanding, prudence, discernment, foresight, control, flexibility, persistence, and so on and so forth. What does that mean? If you are considered a wise person, if you consider yourself to be wise, there's no way you can do without being an understanding person, a prudent person, a discerning person, a person who foresees. Foresight is the ability to predict or the action of predicting what will happen or what will be needed in the future. A wise person has a foresight or foresees. A wise person has control, can control himself or herself. A wise person is flexible. A wise person is persistent. To persist, never let go, as long as you expect good results out of what you don't want to let go. I don't want you to misunderstand me. Persistence is positive. There are some of us who don't want to let go when what we don't want to let go brings negative results. I can give you an example. You have a daughter, you have a son. The son is at an age where he feels he's mature enough. He's a grown man, she's a grown woman. And she happens to get a partner whom she thinks or whom she plans to be her future husband or his future wife. Somehow, somewhere, this child of mine or yours may need some guidance, may need some counseling about his choices, his decisions, as life is. But somehow, he doesn't want you to come in. Whether counseling, whether guiding, whether helping out in decision making or making choices, he doesn't want to let go. To make it worse, it may happen that the choice he made may have something wrong. As you know, I'm talking to people who may be parents, where you need to come in, where any other elder has to come in. Many times children have not wanted to let go. I made a choice, I made a decision. Mom, I cannot change. Dad, I can't change. Whoever comes, no, you cannot make me change what I decided. I don't think that one can be taken to be persistence. He doesn't want to let go just because in him he has a feeling or he has a belief that what he has done is a final period. He doesn't have to change. But now when we talk about persistence, persistence is when you have an expectation of good results, and which results are a result of experience, knowledge, and judgment. I believe when parents get involved into a child's actions, decisions, choices, they are getting in because they have experience, they have knowledge, and can judge in a good way. So that has been an example. So going back to wisdom, I was saying wisdom has its qualities, which qualities we've already seen. And now coming back to wisdom, stroke knowledge, stroke understanding, those three work hand in hand. When we go back to the story that we read from the Bible about King Solomon, God asked him when he was becoming a ruler, a king of the Israelites, God asked him what he wanted. He requested for knowledge. I don't want to say I know much why he requested for knowledge, but I assume Solomon may have had knowledge which he thought would not be enough for him to rule over that kingdom, as some of us may be. Solomon may have had knowledge which would be enough, but now that he had been put in that high position where he was going to rule over many people who are wise, who are understanding, who are knowledgeable, that's why he needed more knowledge. The same applies to us. Most times when we are positioned, when we are put in positions as a way of promotion, we look into our files. Even before you look in your files, there is that step of applying for a position. There is an open position. Can you put in your applications? And they put a list of requirements. I think you remember we talked about this when we were looking at position. You evaluate yourself. Am I really fit? Do I qualify for that position? They look for how highly educated you are. Do you fit the position? What skills do you have? What experience? All of those things. Now you decide, let me put in my application. As far as I'm concerned, I have enough knowledge, I have enough skills, I have enough experience. You go. You are sure of it. Sometimes, some of us fail just because when you evaluate yourself, you are not weighing to be in that position. You don't qualify. So the same thing may have applied to King Solomon. But the fact remains, he was taking up that position according to God's plan. So when he requested for knowledge, God who chose him to be the king for those people, he had to add on what Solomon never requested for, because it's God who knows. He knew Solomon. He knew without wisdom and understanding, Solomon could not only use knowledge. So even for us, getting knowledge from all sources like we discussed is not enough. Knowledge may not be useful when you are not wise. When you don't have that power of discerning or judging properly as to what is true or right. Yes, you are so knowledgeable, but you should have that judgment. It may not be helpful to have a lot of knowledge when you don't have the power to reason correctly or incorrectly. That is also judgment. That is logic. So, as we look for knowledge, we should also have wisdom and understanding. I want us to use 2 examples that I got from the Bible. Remember, I told you the Bible is one of my reference books. There are many stories that we can get talking about wisdom. We've already heard that one of Solomon. And if you are to read that text, you will find that when Solomon got knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, he performed exceedingly beyond any other king who had lived before. He was amazing in his kingdom. And the Bible talks about him as the king who did what other kings never did, just because he had wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. So there are 2 parables or stories. I'm not going to read them fully, but the first one is about the 10 bridesmaids. Some Bibles call them the 10 virgins. But let's use the simple word bridesmaids. We are all used to functions, wedding functions, where there is a bride, that's the woman, where there is a groom, that's the man, then there are bridesmaids and some others. These 10 girls were going to be part of the wedding function. The groom was already there, the bride was already there, and some other people to be at the party were already there, to be at the function. Even these girls were there, but not fully in the function, but they were there in a time where the wedding was to take place. And in the things they required to come with, they had to come with their lamps, which lamps were supposed to be full of oil that would keep those lamps burning through the function. I'm bringing it to our level of understanding. Time comes, the trumpets are blown, everybody has been waiting impatiently for the bridegroom to come in, for the bride to come in. At the very moment when the bridegroom comes in, these girls were supposed to keep their lamps burning. You know what happened? There were 10 of them. 5 of them had enough oil in their lamps, so their lamps continued to produce light. Unfortunately, 5 of them had not even a single drop of oil. You know what happened? They had to either ask these others, can you give us some? And the others were saying, no, we brought what is enough for us. So it was a kind of commotion, confusion, mess. So what they decided to do was to get out of the function place to go to the stores to look for oil for their lamps. And tell you what happened if you've never read this story. While they were away, the bridegroom entered and the door was closed. I wonder how the function was. Which function was to have 10 bridesmaids. But it now happens to have 5 bridesmaids, just because they were not wise. The 5 who had oil are called the wise ones. The 5 who didn't have oil missed the function. They were foolish. That's what the Bible calls them. So the 5 wise bridesmaids, they had qualities of wisdom, as we have talked about them. The 5 foolish bridesmaids, they lacked wisdom qualities, or they were short of wisdom qualities. There are many ways we can interpret this. On the spiritual side, it has its interpretation. But putting it in our understanding as far as this teaching is concerned, are you among the wise who are going to be at the function, or you are among the foolish who are going to miss the function where they were supposed to be? Why do you miss the function? Because you lack wisdom qualities, or you are short of them. You don't have enough. So as far as we are concerned, in our day-to-day living, you and I should know ourselves. That was a route that we looked at some time back. Where do you put yourself? Are you always a foolish bridesmaid, or you are a wise one. When you try to evaluate yourself, do you weigh to the required level? Do you have the qualities of wisdom? One thing I should let you know is wisdom comes from God. If we let God rule our lives, if we let God take part or control over all things, all our lives, we shall get wisdom as King Solomon got it from him. He never requested for it, but God saw it fitting to give Solomon wisdom because he was going to judge people. He was going to go through a lot of experience in his life as a king. He was going to use knowledge in addition to the wisdom he had been given. And in addition to that, there was going to be understanding. Solomon had to understand the people he's ruling. How many times in our lifetime have we not understood one another? And once we fail to understand one another, it's a mess. We end up with incomplete life. Remember, these roots are helping us to get complete life. We should embrace knowledge in our lives, embrace wisdom that comes from God, and then be open to understand whatever we need to understand. The definition of understanding, I know we use it, we think we know what it is. The definition of understanding is the power of comprehending. The way you perceive things, the way you break them up, the way you come to a conclusion. That is understanding. When we are in class, we are given some classes like a reading class. Read the story and answer the questions that come after. You know, whatever level you went through in school, there was such kind of exercise. There is no way you can answer questions unless you have comprehended the story. There is no way you can answer questions unless you have understood the story. There is no way you can cope with challenges in life unless you have embraced understanding. Understand the people you are with, understand the people you relate with, understand your relatives, understand your friends, understand people in different categories. You are an employee, understand your employer. You are an employer, understand your employee. You are a pastor, understand your flock. You are flock, understand your pastor. Father, understand your children. Children, understand your father. Mother, the same. Husbands, understand your wives. Wives, understand your husbands. Whatever position you are in, whatever title you hold, understanding is very important. Most times we lack understanding. That is why we mess up with life. We fail to understand the language spoken by somebody. We end up miscommunicating. You fail to understand the behavior of somebody. You end up misbehaving with that person. You fail to understand the guidelines you are given in a certain position or at home or anywhere you are. You mess up things. We need knowledge from all sources. We need wisdom that is given from God. We need understanding. I feel like adding on the word common sense. Common sense comes in line with understanding. Sometimes we lack what we call common sense. There is a way they twist it and they say common sense which is not common. I think that is what it should be. There is that general common sense, as it is called. But in our lives, we need what we call common sense, which is uncommon. There are certain challenges in life that we go through that torture our lives just because of lack of common sense, which is uncommon. You would be able to judge situations and you go through such a challenge. You would be able to use the little knowledge you have. There are certain things. There are certain cases. There are certain challenges that we go through that may not require you to go to school. That may not require you to consult another person. But there is that sense which is called common sense. Leave alone the common one you usually use, which does not help you to overcome challenges. We need to apply that uncommon common sense, which is not read from any book anyway. But also God put it in you. It is another root. Common sense, understanding, wisdom, knowledge, they are all roots that we need in life if we are not to mess up our friends, if we are not to mess up ourselves, if we are to have complete life, if we are not to have all the problems that we have. Another story that I'm not going to narrate so much is about the wise and the foolish builders. For those of you who are Bible readers, you know, one of them built a house on a shaky ground. Another built on a solid ground. When the storm came, which of the two was washed away? The one of the foolish. Why? Because he lacked wisdom. He lacked knowledge. He lacked understanding. If you don't know something, you consult. There are many of us who fail, who are challenged in life, just because we are proud. We don't want to ask. If you don't know, you should know you don't know. And accept. Don't live in denial. Ask. There are many sources of knowledge. There are many sources of understanding. Consult. I'm not going to go back into that. Do we need wisdom in our lives? Yes, we do. Do we need understanding? Yes, we do. Do we need to use common sense? Yes, we do. But apply that common sense which is uncommon. Because if you use the common one, you may still not get what you want. Because you've always used it and it has failed you. So ask God to give you that uncommon common sense, that understanding that goes beyond what you've always had, that knowledge that you need, and the wisdom that comes from Him. Wisdom is important in our lives. It helps us to deal with the things, in the best possible way. That is one point. To deal with the things in the best possible way. You have challenges. Wisdom helps you to cope with the challenges in the best possible way. When you deal with things in the best possible way, you are looking forward to achieving the best results that you seek. Whoever does something in life, as far as life is concerned, you start doing something expecting good results. Without wisdom, you will not be able to do those things or to deal with those things in the best possible way. Therefore, you'll not get best results that you are seeking or that you need. And as you do that, you should take into account all of the possibilities that may arise. Wisdom is there to help you to do all of that, and you take into account how possible can this be? How possible can I do this? If I'm with a friend who has behaviors that are beyond my understanding, how possible am I going to deal with this friend? Do you know we have friends that are impossible? That will be another route. Thank you so much for viewing. Thank you for tuning in. Remember to share. Remember to comment. The Facebook video is live. You can always go to YouTube. The same video that is live on Facebook, I put it on YouTube. And whenever you go there, you can watch that video. Even on Facebook, you can always watch it because it stays there. Thank you so much. God bless you. We meet next week.